Hi, this is Derek Murphy. I'm going to talk a little bit about book launches. I put out a lot of fiction last year. This year is the first year that I'm focusing on selling my fiction or making money from my fiction. So I put out a big mermaid young adult book in January. It's been about 2 months. I just wrote a huge case study on my blog about my launch process. I actually had a launch plan, and the launch plan is really simple. It focuses mostly on advertising. There are basically three ways to launch a book. One is just using a free or cheap book deal and then advertising on book deal sites. There's a big list of them. I have about 25 of them, and I just broke it up so that I was doing maybe 3 a day for a week. So if you advertise on those sites, what they're doing, most of those book sites, they build targeted reader email lists for readers who like a certain genre. So you pay a certain amount of money to reach readers of that genre, $30 or $50 or something. And so what you want to do with ads is ad stacking, which means you do a lot of ads at the same time. So for 7 days, I would do 3 different sites a day. I'd probably reach 50,000 people a day or so. Hopefully, if everything else is set up right, your cover is great, your description is great, and you already have 20 or so reviews, then those ads will convert pretty well. What you don't really want to do, though, the danger is that you just publish and then you start running ads right away because you don't have the reviews and you haven't really tested. You don't really know if your cover is working or if your sales description is working until you've put it out there for sale. And that takes time to kind of figure out and test. So I actually didn't stick with my plan because part of it is also you need to book those ad spots like a month or two in advance because they go out quickly. So because I had set my book up for pre-order, because I was kind of rushing to get my book out the door on time, I didn't set up all the ads, and that's too late. Like, you can't just run last-minute ads. So those work really well, but you have to really have everything organized. You have to plan your launch pretty well. But in that huge, massive case study post I just put up, if you scroll down to the end, there is like, this was the plan I was going to use, and that is what I should use, and I'll probably use that in the future. However, when you do ads like that, what usually happens is you'll get a big push, you'll get a lot of sales, but then your rank will die down. So you might do really well during your launch week. You might stick with a really good sales rank. And ideally, if your cover is great, if your description is great, then it'll keep selling. It'll go up really high, and then it'll kind of level out and it'll stick at some place. My book, Shearwater, is sticking around 10,000 without any promotion and without doing all those ad stacks that I had meant to do, which is still pretty good. I actually do a lot of other things. So the other parts of the other ways to market your book besides ad stacking like that would be just promotion. By promotion is what most authors think of marketing, is where you go onto Twitter or Facebook groups, you use a lot of hashtags, and you say, my book is on sale or for free. A lot of people will set up like a head talker campaign, which is something that lets you ask for support, and then people can support your message with Twitter or Facebook, and they'll basically just retweet or reshare your message about your book launch. That can all work, but basically you're just shouting into the world. And a lot of authors say that. They feel like they're just shouting into the void and they don't get any traction because that's kind of spammy, and most people ignore that stuff anyway. Social media is really a place to be social. It's a place to look for interesting stuff. People don't really want to be advertised to or sold to. Limited advertising on social media sites when you're promoting something free, especially like a free starter library or a free book, that can sometimes work. Advertising a 99-cent book is hard to make money from unless it's the first book of a series and you're trying to get people into the series and make money that way. But generally that kind of stuff doesn't work, so that's why I don't really do it with my own book launches. Instead, what I like to do is build solid traffic generating content. So I have some sites that have pretty good site authority. Site authority just means like if 100 sites write about young adult mermaid books, Google has to decide which site they're going to show first. So if your website has more incoming links, people are talking about you, you have more content, you have more shares, it's a more trusted site. I've built up some sites like that, so that means when I write about young adult mermaid romances, and I don't actually write, that's kind of too specific a topic, I'll write about the top 10 best young adult mermaid romances for teens or something like that, something with a lot of keywords. Rather than just focusing on one book or trying to promote my book, I'll talk about 25 best books that I like. Those authors will share that content. Readers will share that content because it's a good piece of content. I make lots of content like that that's not really about my book. It's about focusing on and supporting other authors. It's about introducing readers to best books that they'll enjoy in the target that they're looking for. I use a lot of keywords. So people will find my content. And when I put out content like that on my sites, that's not a flash in the pan marketing strategy. It takes a while to build, but then once I build it, it'll grow in traffic as time goes on, which means I'm always getting new leads, new people finding my site because they're looking for those types of books, and then my book will be somewhere in that list or at the top of the list, or at the bottom I can say, make sure you check out my book, which is this one. So I do a lot of that, which is why I don't see like the huge spike when I launch a book in the beginning, but I do my books tend to stick at a certain rank. A lot of authors will say there's the 30-day cliff, or you need to keep releasing books every month or else you'll become invisible. But they're usually doing a lot of that kind of advertising or promotion where it's really one-off. They'll spend a lot of time and effort on it, but when they stop doing those things, the sales dry up because they're not getting the visibility. So the way that I build content that gets traffic deliberately, that means I have a kind of base recurring new readers, new traffic. They're coming to me and finding my book without me actually doing any marketing and promotion or advertising. So that's what I like to do. But the last thing that I am starting to do more of is just running ads on Amazon, because you can run Amazon ads and they take time to get set up well. I've learned about 1,000 keywords, and rather than, like at the beginning, my first ad, I was just running, mermaid books. Basically, I was focusing on people searching for mermaids, but actually I've extended my list of like 1,000 keywords to cover basically everything related to young adult, all the best-selling young adult books, because readers who are going to like any best-selling young adult book might like my young adult book, even though it's a pretty different genre. And I'm really just trying to get the visibility. So if I can get especially because this one, Shearwater, is such a long book, I'll get paid a lot for page reads if I can keep the rank higher. So I can spend $10 a day on Amazon ads as long as they are doing well. So if I have lots of keywords and I have a really tight sales description so that people are clicking on it, and my Amazon page is converting because my description is amazing. I'm not quite there yet. If I had a better blurb, a better description, I would be converting better, and my rank would be staying higher than it is now, which is around 8,000 or so. But if I fix my blurb and I spend $10 a day, which is $300 a month on Amazon ads, there's a good chance I could stay in the top 5,000 or so. And if that was the case, I'd make probably an extra couple thousand per month in sales and page reads. So it really is like, once you test, you've got to run a lot of different ads, you have to test a lot of different sales copy, but once you find a combination that's really working, that's the other exciting thing about Amazon ads, is if I could spend $10 a day and it's really working, I could spend $100 a day for a short period of time. This is something I forget if I mentioned in my case study post, but if I spend $10 a day and figure everything out, especially on pre-order, until I get an ad that's really working, I could bump it to $100 a day for 7 days, get lots of sales and lots of visibility. And then because I've gotten so many sales, and because I'm advertising to specific audiences who are searching for other bestsellers in my genre, I'm going to populate my also bots pretty well, which just means when anybody is searching for any of those other books that I'm targeting, and people have bought those books and bought my book, then my book's going to show up more often in the also bots. So that's the thing you can do when you launch your book. You could just spend a lot on Amazon ads once you've tested things out and figured out an ad combination that's really working. And then when you stop running those ads, you should still be selling pretty well because you have such history. You really want to focus on getting a lot of sales and a lot of history on launch. so that your also bots and the history and the traffic, Amazon kind of remembers how well you're doing. If they think you have a good product, and people are, when they find your, like if Amazon recommends your page to people who are searching for certain things, and those people read it and they leave a positive review, Amazon remembers that, and they'll be more and more likely to show. It's kind of like robot learning, but they'll be more and more likely to show your book because it is performing well and readers like it. Amazon wants to show your book to readers who are going to enjoy it. So the more reviews you get, the more conversions you get when you advertise and people buy your book. Those will all kind of train Amazon to continue selling the book for you. That's kind of the purpose of doing a launch, is you want to launch really big and get a lot of sales, so that it will keep selling on its own. I know not everybody has money to spend a lot on ads, and when you first launch your first book, you want to be doing more platform building. When I launched my first books last year, I was just building my email list and building content to get traffic to some new sites. I didn't really do any advertising and promoting, but now that my books are earning money, when I put out a new book, I really want them to stick well. And I already have the platform and the email list because I built that up last year. So the other nice thing about focusing on building your own platform is it's not this, most people think marketing is just, you need to keep doing it all the time. But if you build up the content or you build up your own platform or your email list, I spent time and money on it last year, but now I don't need to do those kinds of things anymore because I already have a platform and I have some fans. So now I just focus on book covers, blurbs. I get my 100 reviews as fast as I can. I want 100 reviews on every book. And then for maintenance, I'll probably be running Amazon ads. I might, because the kind of cool thing is, like I said, if I could advertise $10 a day, right now I'm making like about 100 a day in book sales and page reads. So if I could spend $10 a day and make 100 a day, that's pretty great. But if that's working and I can spend $100 a day and make $1,000 a day, that's amazing. So that's kind of something I'll keep testing, is whether I can, once I know that the book is working, I know that people are buying it and enjoying it, I should be able to boost my ad spend and see bigger results. But that's not something you want to play around with, because it's very easy to spend lots of money on ads before it's really been tested. And if you're not doing it very well, you could spend too much and be getting less of a good deal. Like if you're paying too much per click, or like if you're spending $1,000 but your Amazon page isn't converting very well because you need a better description or a better cover, that can be a waste of money. So you do want to test things out and make sure that it's working, so that when you're sending traffic there, when they're clicking your ads, then enough people are buying, so that you're not losing money. But once you figure that system out, you can scale up and spend more money and see better results. Anyway, I'm going to post this video, and I have that major case study. It's messy, but it's a case study of how I launched Shearwater. A lot of the stuff wasn't necessary, and I could have done it simpler. It's kind of usually a choice of either spending a lot of money or spending a lot of time, and often it's easier to just spend the money, but it's also riskier. I mean, most authors they're not ready to spend $2,000 on their first book launch. I certainly wasn't. Now that I'm making like $5,000 a month, spending $2,000 to launch a new book doesn't sound like such a scary proposition, but you start out where you can, you spend as much as you can. Like I said, you really want to start focusing on building your platform. You can do a lot of free stuff first, building relationships with other authors. You want to do more work and more free stuff in the beginning because you're really learning how to do everything. But then once your books are making money, it's easier to just spend money on ads to reach new readers rather than doing a lot of time or building type stuff. Okay, thanks. Bye-bye.